Um, okay, this is an exercise that we'll do in the afternoon. Wait, just hold on. Okay, maybe not, just not to preempt so much. Mapping, what we need to is about five, typically maybe five key things, and these depending on the challenge that you're facing could really change, but at the start has to be the individual, and this either is the person or or in this case the group of persons. And then there's things that might happen at an interpersonal level, and here you're really considering family, friends, social networks, as well as things that might be more related to the organization. So whether it's broadly speaking, it's maybe the various schools or workplaces, and then overall community and its environment, and then also things like public policy, things that might be the law. So it's you're really trying to appreciate how all these affect your persona that has been created, and this sometimes is really you questioning what are the constraints and the negative influences on this particular persona. And then also things to do with the various positive influences. So it's to say that you really need to draw a full picture of what of the challenge, but in the view of the persona. And then of course there's various mainstreams and extremes. There, and in this case, there are some of the people who interact with the persona who might be I guess in this case on the mainstream side, where this would be the typical interaction, but then there are also the extreme side. Maybe these are people that the persona interacts with once in a while, but they are quite influential. Okay. We could take a 10-minute break, and then maybe we could have some questions, if any. You already have questions? Oh, you're asking about the break. Yes, please. Yes, you can have access to it later on. Yeah. But yes, we can have a 10-minute break. You could go out and stretch a little. Yes, please.
Yes, I was wondering, considering a typical team with, say, a team lead, maybe a developer, and a product owner or something, who is best suited to lead the design thinking activities or tasks, if I may? Because again, if we are thinking about the people who have ideas are in the room, different backgrounds, like what guidance can we give in terms of like who takes the lead on this, or is it everyone's role? And then what, maybe the other question I'll ask after you're done with everything, you might, I feel like you will address it later on. So I'll stop there for now. Thank you.
So, I guess I'll start with the first, if design thinking is the only approach. So, I would like to say that, no, it's not even like to say. The thing is, it's not the only approach that can be used to address a challenge. But what we've uncovered is that it is an effective approach. More so for a context like ours, where there is a very clear need to appreciate the end user. The reason why it is deemed effective is because similarly to human-centered design, it puts the end user at the forefront of its entire process. So it's not to say that it's the only approach to solutioning, but it is an effective approach, and it is quite fitting for our context like ours. I don't know if that answers that. And then also best lead. So design thinking, I can say that we typically you have teams that you're working with. And it's easier to work with a team when you're all on the same page. So in a situation where you have everyone on that team, where everyone on that team appreciates the solutioning direction. So they're all familiar with design thinking. They all have, or at least have an idea of what it is. You then go a step further in trying to understand who is most suited to facilitate that solutioning journey. A lot of the time, let's say if it is, I'll give an example of if you're conducting research, let's say. It's not to say that there is no one taking the lead. It's that you are carrying out a very structured research process where you have people who have very specific roles, but then there is someone who oversees that process. Now, in a case like this, in a scenario like this, I mean, we're in the room, I have design thinking knowledge and experience, and in the room, I imagine the room knows of design thinking, but they might not have practiced it maybe the way I have practiced it. So my role in this case, in terms of taking the lead at this moment in time, is to ensure that the process they are taking is the one that will lead them to actionable solutions, for example. So in smaller teams, let's say after this day, we have all gone away and we need to work further on the solutions that we are working on. What would happen is you have material that's guiding you, but then your team is a soundboard. You're really trying to, you have appreciated the material collectively, but I imagine there's one of you who has understood it more than the others. So they in any sense would at least begin the conversation in that sense. And then you have a team that is developing this journey alongside someone who in this case, most capably understands or at least better appreciates what that journey is like. I don't know. Do you want to say anything? Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah, but then also, it's also to say that this information is, for lack of a better word, democratized. It doesn't rest in the hands of, I don't know, one person. And that's why we typically like to share it. So, and we get to the extent that because as a part of the team, the end users within those contexts also join. We usually, when we are going to co-create, we also have to run them through what the co-creation process is like, and also the various tools that are meant to be used during that process. That way they get familiar and they understand what to expect. So in that case, you as the people with a solution now become the people who are now going to, you're now the ones going to facilitate what would be a design thinking session, because at the end of the day, you're now the ones who have the information, but then you need to pass it on just to ensure that the work that you're doing is quite effective. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers it. Or is that not the answer you are looking for? Okay, yeah. So, break, we extend the break now that the questions have come earlier. Yeah. So we'll be back in 12:17. that context mapping, you can then begin to create a journey mapping. And this journey map is really meant to sort of visualize what that persona goes through in terms of this particular challenge that they're facing. So it really helps you to visualize, let's say from the start, which is more or less before that challenge is happening, during the happening of the challenge, and right after. Is this not working? So yes, when we journey map, we really get an opportunity to identify the joys and the challenges within whatever experience that persona is going through. But then also, it also helps us understand where the intervention can best be placed during this experience. But then it also gives us a target in terms of if this is the if this is the persona's experience during the challenge, in what way can we draw up a totally new experience for them? So typically this journey map also helps create a base through which we can reflect on our solution, but also something for us to always be mindful of. While we are designing, it's something that helps us visualize this journey, but then it's also very important when we are telling our story. So, for example, when you know that that in this case your challenge was lack of internet access. When you are telling that story, you are not just saying lack of internet access. You are talking about all the various points and hardships that your persona goes through that have created this lack of internet access. So when we're journey mapping, there are four key considerations or tools that are used for that process. Of course, the first being the various actors or actor. So that's the persona and their various people or peoples of influence. And then also scenarios that are a series of scenarios that lead up to or progress from the point of that challenge. And then the various journey phases. So this, like I mentioned earlier, for example, it can be from before the challenge happens, during the happening of the challenge, and right after the various challenge. But then, the fourth being the various actions that are performed during this entire process, what emotions the personas and their influences might have, but also what kind of mindset are they in. And then overall, once this has been mapped, the things that would need to highlight are points of opportunity. So at what point in time can your solution plug in to be the most effective? This would be an example of a journey map. So for example, while you're typically mapping the unique experiences of a persona's journey in this case. Like we mentioned earlier, from before it happens to during it's happening and to after it's happening. You're looking out for what actions are being performed. You're really looking out for what actions are being performed. So let's say, I'll give you an example of this journey map that's below. It was really something that was speaking to the various means of interaction with technology. So at a certain point, you're looking at a phone. Then at another point, the phone and the watch. And then at a certain point, at this time, there used to be a lot of airtime purchases. So at this point, airtime purchases, then the phone, and then the mobile phone. So here, as you have mapped out this kind of this kind of person's interaction with what would be technology, you're also taking note of the various emotions that are involved. At what points are they on a good note? At what points are they on a bad note? And then, of course, areas of intervening. At what point would any solution be plugged into this particular experience? And then it's also important to note that it's sort of the journey, while the creation of a journey map, it's more iterative. It's not something that you would do once and that's it. It's something that you keep modifying as you receive information. Yes, then we get to a point where we can refine our design challenge. Redefine our design challenge, or in this case, you're really looking to improving your understanding of what the challenge is. And when you're redefining your design challenge, you're really looking out for those things that are beyond just what would be beyond just what you would have assumed or what you would have started with. So if we bring back that example of lack of internet access, there's a lot more to that lack of internet access than is said. So when we are refining our design challenge, we are really speaking to that. What else are we looking at that speaks to the lack of internet access? Because at this point, it's very clear that it's very clear who is being affected and the various things they go through. It's also very clear what points of opportunity are existing in their experience. You can then begin to create how might we statements. It's to say that these how might we statements are the ones that you'll be reflecting on while you're ideating. And typically, the how might we statement is really broken down into 3 key areas: a subject, an action, and an outcome. One example is, and this would have been taken from an opportunity within a persona's journey. One of the examples is, for example, when your anchor to the ideation, what you are trying to develop a solution for, is really this particular question. The idea with the how might we is also, once it's framed in this nature, it also eases your it eases how you think about it, but it also makes how you think about it more palatable. So, for example, you'd ask yourself, how might we encourage the public to embrace migrant workers' needs in Singapore during and after the pandemic? So this is you trying to ask yourself, what solutions can be created? And if you break it down, in this case, the action is encourage. So encourage the public. The subject is the public, so you have a target audience, and the outcome would be embrace migrant workers' needs in Singapore during and after the pandemic. So in any case, when you're going to begin to ideate, so that your ideas are quite targeted in nature, they would be targeted towards the public. They would also be, and they would also be of a nature that encourages the public, but then with an overall intention of embracing migrant workers' needs in Singapore during and after the pandemic. A different one would be, let's say, how might we revise manpower policy and economic strategies in response to the current situation for migrant workers in Singapore. Again, we can very clearly see what the action is, which is revise. The subject it's targeted towards the manpower policy and economic strategies, and then the outcome in response to the current situation for migrant workers in Singapore. So at that point in time, ideation then begins to be less daunting, because now you're not just trying to create solutions, but in this case, you have now appreciated the subject, but then you also you've appreciated the nature of those solutions, which is the action, and then your intended outcome, what the solution needs to be able to do at the end of the day. Yes, now this is for the afternoon. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? Or comments? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, since no comments or questions, I'll hand the mic over back to Alban.
Thank you, Victor, for your presentation. Can I ask questions? Since you people don't want to ask. Who understands the persona? Persona? Simple.
An individual or group of people you're creating the solution for.
Hey, is it because you are seated in front? Okay. I think without much ado, we are done with the. Then we are returning at 2. The break has lunch as well. So you can take time to read through your pitch decks. So how many of you know what they call a pitch deck? How many? How many companies know a pitch deck? 2 only? Okay, 3. So you can prepare, you can use this time to go through your pitch deck, add these personal things somewhere in the mix, so that when you are presenting, when we ask persona, then you are able to give answers. So you can use this time to do that. Thank you.